kosher market, the Jewish market, is still relatively new to wine. Kosher wine of quality is only about 40 years old. Most people are still, learning about it. Whereas in the big world out there, there are not so many. There are a lot. Of course, there are a lot of people who know about wine. There are a lot of people who don't know about wine. But it's a completely different perspective when, like any other product that can be kosher or non-kosher. When you have just a huge choice and you can pick whatever you want, versus when you're limited to a selection of products, which nowadays there are close to 4,000 different kosher wines being produced in the world. That sounds like a lot, but again, it's still a drop in the ocean compared to the non-kosher wine world. But yes, that's really that's the progress that we have witnessed over the years. New generations are really more interested than our parents and grandparents were about wine. It's a completely different perspective. The people who actually drink the most kosher wine nowadays are the millennials, the people who were born over the past 30 years. And those people have actually they grew up with some good wine because there were already good wines when they were born, versus our parents and grandparents who just had sweet kiddush wine, sacramental wine, like they're called, and there was not that much to speak of in terms of quality.
So I want to pick up on this education piece because that's really, I want to focus on that in our conversation. But before I do move into the education piece and background and history of the kosher wine landscape, especially in the U.S., I'm curious about the generational aspect. Have you found it really is such a difference of maybe people in their 20s and 30s versus, let's say, 50s, the baby boomers, right, in the 50s, 60s, 70s, that there is a different orientation and appreciation of kosher wine these days? Yeah.
So I'll give you a very concrete example. Of course, we live in a world where social media is really is very strong. Instagram, Facebook, and you have all those kosher bloggers, all those Jewish bloggers, many, if not most of whom are women, religious women who are in their 20s or 30s, usually married. And I'm not going to name any in particular, but for the most part, they're that generation who always promote. Some of them are actually cookbook authors. They are out there that sometimes 30, 50, 100,000 followers on Instagram. And they're called social media influencers, which I am one of personally. On a smaller scale, I have two Facebook groups, one in English, one in French. It's called Kosher Wine Sharing and Experiences. Between the two, there are close to 10,000 followers. I have about 1,000 followers on Instagram. So it's a far cry from 50,000 or 100,000 followers, like some of those kosher food bloggers. But in the very small niche market of kosher wine geeks, it's still pretty sizable.